How does social media affect political campaigns? If you'd asked me that question 20 years ago, I would have said they don't. Today, they affect political campaigns in every way imaginable. If you have an interest in getting involved in politics, I suggest you stick with me because what I'm going to share is pure gold. What we're going to talk about here is how it affects your campaign structure, the people you hire, and the mission of your campaign. Then I'm going to do a deep dive into how to do that well. Let's talk about your campaign structure, and I'll just tell you a little story. A few months ago, somebody called me who was running for governor of a fairly large state. He wanted to talk to me about doing some strategic help with him and some targeting, and I said, okay, when did you make this decision? He said, about a month ago I decided I wanted to do this. I said, do you have any campaign staff? He says, yeah, I've already hired my first two people. I said, who were they? He says, the first thing I did is I hired a very, very talented videographer who is great with the camera, who is great at coaching me and helping me perform well in front of that camera. I said, great. And who was your second hire? He said, I hired a young kid. And I said, what's his specialty? He says, when I'm done with those videos, he knows how to post them on TikTok. He knows how to post them on Facebook. He knows how to get them on Instagram. He knows how to do it on YouTube. And that's all he does. Every day I do a video, and every day he posts. And when he said that, I came to one conclusion. This is a candidate for governor who knows exactly what he's doing. Okay, I mentioned he posts. What kind of posts? Well, at first he started with organic posts. Maybe he'd sit down and record a video about what he wanted to do with health care in his state, and then he'd record a video to talk about how he was going to fix the housing problem in this state, and that state also has a crime problem, and he did videos about that. But that's not the only kind of video he does. Sometimes he'll read the paper and he'll see a story that's relevant to what he's talking about, and he'll post a link to that story in the newspaper and add his own feelings about the stuff that that story is covering. Third thing he does is what we call Pithy Graphics. He'll take a picture, usually of himself, and he'll have his graphic artist put a few pithy words of copy next to the picture, and it's what we call clickbait. That picture with those graphics make a bold statement, and people click on it. Well, when people click on it, they go to his website, or they like it, that increases interaction, or they comment. Now, Facebook loves it when people comment on your posts. And he makes it a habit, no matter what they say about his post, to respond, or else he has the aide do it. That increases interaction. Facebook will elevate a post that is getting lots of interaction because they want people to stay on Facebook. Now, when he just started, he started with 2 followers. Within 6 weeks, he had 5,000. That is how you grow your following with organic social media. Now, there's one other little trick. On the back end of his website, he inserted what is called a Facebook pixel. You can do that if you have a Facebook political page. You can do the same thing. And when people click on his website, the website keeps track of not the name, not the identification, but a unique code to say that this person, whoever this person was, clicked on your website. Well, after he accumulated a list of 5,000 people who had clicked on his website, he began retargeting those people with additional content. He asked them to volunteer in his campaign, and he got several. And then he began to ask them to contribute to his campaign. And early on in the campaign, he began to raise a lot of small dollar contributions. That is how this is done. Now, I'm going to give you a few examples of people who've done this before or who've been at it over a period of time, just to show you where it can lead. Why did Marjorie Taylor Greene become a force for a period of time in the Republican Party? Part of it was her following on social media. Marjorie Taylor Greene routinely in each election cycle would raise close to $10 million. How did AOC in New York City become a force within her party? She's been doing this a long time, but in the first quarter of this year, she raised $10 million in small dollar contributions that she got from ubiquitous posts on social media. That made her a force inside the Democrat Party. And if you want to take it even to a greater extreme, there's a U.S. Senator named Jon Ossoff who raised $12 million this year. In the first 3 months of the year, 225,000 contributors, 97% of which gave him less than $100. That social media stuff that he has done through the years has made him a fundraising juggernaut. This is an example of what you can do if you structure your campaign the right way, if you get serious about daily posts on social media, and if you put that Facebook pixel on your website so that you can retarget the people who've come to see you. Now, let's turn to a few tips about how to do this well. There are 3 social media platforms that allow you to advertise: Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube. Facebook and Instagram allow you to upload your own target list into their system. They will match known Facebook and Instagram accounts to that list that you provide them, and then you can pay Facebook and Instagram to deliver ads to their eyeballs. Now, what is required to do this well? Well, number one, you got to target the right people. If you're sending a Democratic message to a Republican audience, you're not going to accomplish much. If you don't finely tune your target list by party and certain demographic variables, you're going to look like you're all over the place. But this is a way to create niche audiences of supporters by telling them what you are going to do that will improve their quality of life. Once you have a good organic following, you can start to do paid advertising to make it grow even more. How do you use this advertising? Well, you can create your own brand to the audience that you're targeting. You can use this over a period of time to let massive numbers of people know what you are going to do for them. You can tell them about your moral code and your notions of right and wrong and what makes you tick. You can do video stories about the time in your life where you faced a challenge or when you became passionate about fixing a problem that is relevant to them. You can talk about your background and let them know in certain ways what makes you qualified to do the job. And you can use these ads to frame the choice. What makes you better than the person who is running against you? Social media is the cheapest way to disseminate that kind of message over a period of time. And frankly, candidates who do not use it are fools. Now, what do you do along the way? Well, this is some technical stuff, but it's essential that you understand it. There's this thing called, when you put up an ad, what we call A/B testing. So a couple of weeks ago, I crafted 15 different ads for a political candidate. 3 of them were about education, 3 of them were about the economy, 3 of them were about health care, 3 of them were about her values and moral code, and 3 of them were about her background. And what we did is we put all 15 ads up, and we allocated $10 a day to each ad. And then 3 days later, we went back and started looking at the metrics on each ad. Well, as the voters had looked at them, they were kind of telling us which ones they liked the most. So on the 3rd day, what we did is we went through and we eliminated 10 of the ads we were running because they were not as good as the 5 who won the contest. It's called A/B testing with different copy and different graphics. Facebook makes it very easy if you monitor the metrics to figure out which ads are working well and which ones are not. You cannot monitor what you do not measure, and if you are not monitoring your data, you're going to end up pissing away a lot of money that could have been better spent on a different ad. Now, I kind of touched the surface on all of this and told you lots of information and packed it into a short period of time. There's an additional video in a link below this video. How to use social media in a political campaign. If you're running for office, go to it and watch it now. Grab a pen and some paper because you're going to want to take notes.